Good morning. Today is Sunday, October 1st, 2023, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So basically looking at where Bitcoin went last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So this is the start of Q4. So we've gone through Q1, Q2, and Q3 of this year. And now we're in the beginning of October, which is Q4. So it should be pretty interesting. Um, looking at it quarter by quarter, right? You had January, February, and March were like crazy months. Like they just shot off like a rocket. And then you had a pretty slow, kind of relatively volatile second quarter. So you had April, May, June. You saw that big rocket off in June. Like there was volatility to the downside, and then a huge rocket up at the end of June. I think this was around the time they started announcing the ETFs. And then you had July, August, and then recently September. So we just ended September. And the interesting part about this is the fact that September is generally one of the worst months for Bitcoin. It averages a negative percentage. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's usually down, I think, like 7 or 8%. But the fact that it was up on this September, I think we went up 3%. Yeah, about 4% this September. So that's not common. It's not common at all. So that's a good sign. And then at this point, we're starting October. We are pretty much, we're not even 24 hours into October just yet. So you can't really, tell. But in general, I think October is probably the third best month if you look at averages on Bitcoin. So you should see a pretty good lift here in October. So we'll see. We'll look at the lower chart to see what we can kind of take out of it. At this point, we're still very much so range bound. Kind of looking at, again, we had a huge rally at the beginning of the year and really into June. This major rally up to about 30K, and then we've just kind of stalled out at this point. So going up and down and up and down. Really no volatility here or here. This was like the news of like Evergrande that dropped it just a bit. And then we've pretty much been sideways ever since. So like week after week, no movement up or down. And then really in the last week, we started to see some type of elevation, kind of going up a little bit. No, I do not want to leave the site. All right, so going down to the daily chart, we can see a couple things. I can take. So again, we're very much so locked in between this range. If we go down a little bit, matter of fact, we can go back to the weekly chart. So again, this is your daily demand zone. We've come up. This is a long-term support and resistance. So at this point, we've had periods where, hey, this supported price and it shot it up, and then it stalled out here for a second, and then it came up, and now it's serving as resistance. So this is the final resistance that we have to kind of break. So somewhere around 32,000. And it kind of looks like we're headed up, kind of headed in that direction. So that's a good sign. So again, at this point, we pretty much ranged here for all this time, really didn't go anywhere. But now we have kind of broken this trend line to a degree, came back up to the trend line, tested it, and came back down. And now we're looking to retest this trend line, this long-term trend line. So if we zoom out, this goes all the way back to the beginning of 2023. So you have one bounce, kind of two bounces here, a third kind of test here. It broke down. And now it looks like you're going back up to retest it. So, what else do you have here? Really, not a lot. The thing that you're looking at right now is we've come down, we've tested this daily demand zone. We came back up to the trend line. We made a higher low. That's important. So on the daily chart, we have made a significant higher low from here. So that's like what, a couple percent. That's about 4%. Like that's a 4% jump from where we were at the bottom here in September. So that's a good sign. You have this major bullish candle here on, what was that? That was Wednesday of this week. So Wednesday or no, Thursday of last week. This past Thursday, we had a major rocket to the upside. But yeah, no, it's a good sign. I think going into the end of the year, going into quarter 4, we're gonna see a lot of lift. There's not a ton to talk about at this point because again, there's not a ton of price action. But again, it's about being consistent, being able to look at Bitcoin every single week, and kind of document the whole journey from 30,000 to 100,000. I think that was my goal when I set out to document it, whether it was slow or it was fast. So yeah, no, just following on the journey. And right now the journey is pretty slow, but it's all good. Taking a lift here. Yeah, again, there's not going to be a ton of news until we start breaking above here and breaking above here. So what is this? This is 27,000. 27,000 has, I mean, it's been a testing period here too. So it's like you came up here, you couldn't break it, came up here, couldn't break it, shot down. So it seems to be somewhat of a key level. 27,500 roughly. So you break through here, you break through this trend line, and then the next test is to probably break through about 29K, 30K. If you can break through 30K, then the next place that you have to break is 32,000 roughly. So going into the end of this year, you could hear a lot of good news. Again, the end of the year generally tends to be a better time for Bitcoin, just historically based on averages. And then definitely going into next year, you'll have a lot of good news. So I mean, it's the halving is next year. You have all of these ETFs that are more than likely going to get accepted. It's a very high probability at this point. You have probably the return of quantitative easing, where people are, I mean, not people, the government is printing money. That tends to elevate the stock market too. Stock market, crypto market, really all the assets. Like that money ends up flowing into assets once it's printed eventually. So the people who own the assets are the people who end up winning. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of good news coming in 2024 for sure, and could be into the end of 2023 as well. So it could be a buzzer beater of a fourth quarter. So we'll see. Could see some major lifts. So all right, that's pretty much all I got. Don't really have too much else. So this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out christalkscrypto.com for any type of crypto resources, and I will see you on the moon. Take care.